The best snow foam just got even better. What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Pan the Organizer. Today I'm testing the new version or the new formula of the Bilt Hamber Touch-Less. This is a sugar-based snow foam, and its main purpose is to help kind of lift and encapsulate the abrasive particles present in dirt film in the pre-wash stage. So that's before the contact wash, in order to make sure you remove a lot of that loose dirt and debris to minimize the chances of you adding swirls or scratches when you're doing the contact wash. So this one here is a bit higher on the pH scale, but before I dive into all the details of what's new in this second gen type formula, we're gonna go ahead and dive right into the test, because they promised that they kept all the performance attributes that Touch-Less was known for, but they more than doubled its concentration. That's one of the main features about this. So by the way, quick disclaimer, this is not a sponsored video. However, Bilt Hamber did send me these to test. I was able to also have a discussion with Bilt Hamber. He's the CEO, owner, and also the main chemist over at Bilt Hamber Laboratories. So we're gonna do a deep dive of all the cool tech behind this. And by the way, don't worry, I'm gonna leave the links to all the tools, products, and equipment in the description under the video for you guys to check them out. So all you have to do is sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. So back to the Bilt Hamber Touch-Less. By the way, this took first place for my best snow foam of the year in my 2023 Car Detailing Products Awards video. The main reason being because it has the best cleaning abilities of any snow foam I have personally tested. So there are generally two types of snow foams: the more pH neutral ones for your general cleaning tasks, or when you clean your car on a regular basis every week or bi-weekly washes. And so those typically are more for lubrication, not as much for cleaning the surface. And then you have the higher alkaline pH snow foams like this one here. There's also CarPro Lift and others in that nature that have that higher pH and that are actually designed to help do a lot of the pre-cleaning. So it's always in an effort during that pre-wash stage with your foam cannon to kind of lift, encapsulate any of that loose dirt and debris, all that grit that's on the surface, and rinse that away. So that way you have as clean of a surface as possible. We're looking for like what, 80–90% cleaning at that point, and you're only left with a bit of dirt film, but not really none of those particles or heavy dirt anymore. So again, it's safer for the finish because, well, you're not going to rub that in with your microfiber wash mitt during the contact wash, right? So you're minimizing the chances of swirling and scratching. I have a bunch of videos on that, by the way, also pH 7 or pH neutral versus higher pH alkaline snow foam. So you see that some of them, this is not just for show, there are some that actually have a good cleaning capabilities, and certainly Touch-Less is my favorite one. They also have Auto Foam, that's a pH 13 in the lineup. This new version here of Touch-Less is now a pH 10.5 compared to pH 12 for the previous generation. I'm going to talk about all that after the test, and also I'm going to tell you how you can differentiate this new version, because the labels are identical. So how can you tell, right, if you have the new version versus the old one? So stay tuned. So first, let's talk about this. We're going to start by mixing it in our foam cannon. So in your foam cannon container, the instructions are on the label, how you have to calculate the panel impact ratio. So what's actually the amount of diluted product that's going to be sprayed onto your vehicle for the effective concentration. You do it once and then it's good forever, because it's specific to your pressure washer and your specific foam cannon. So you can take, for example, the measurements or the amounts that I put in my foam cannon. That wouldn't necessarily work in your setup. So follow the simple instructions. They put them all here in the back. So it's a bit tedious the first time, but like I said, once you've done it once, it's good forever, as long as you don't change your foam cannon or pressure washer. So once you have that down, you're going to put the amount of water. In my case, again, don't use my numbers because I have a 2.1 gallons per minute Krenzla pressure washer. And in this case, I was using the MJJC Foam Cannon Pro. And in this situation, I had 540 milliliters of water in the foam cannon container. You can use warm water or cold water. It doesn't really matter. It rinses freely, by the way, this snow foam. And in there, I also added 160 milliliters of Touch-Less. So way, way less than the previous version. And that was at the 2% PIR this time, because now the effective percentage, they recommend using either 0.5% all the way up to 2% PIR, compared to the previous version, which was 2% PIR all the way up to 5% PIR. So this new version is way more concentrated, and the prices haven't really changed, so you're getting a lot more bang for your buck. You're not going to be blowing through as much snow foam as the previous version. So we put that into the foam cannon, you mix that up, and then we're ready to apply the foam on the vehicle. But beforehand, let's have a look at the state of the car. So I'm filming this in mid-February 2024, so it's still winter here in Canada, lots of road salts, calcium, and as you can tell, I left the vehicle a little longer than I normally would because I wash my car twice weekly, but I wanted to have it a bit dirty for this test. So there are some road salts, calcium, and all that kind of stuff on the paintwork itself. The wheels and tires are dirty. There's a bit of that winter muck, grime, and grit on the surface, and we're going to see just how effective this is. And so I like to snow foam nowadays. You can pre-rinse and then foam, or if you want the foam to cling more on the surface and be less diluted, I would spray the snow foam directly on a dry surface as we're doing here. I have a video on that too, should you pre-rinse or not. It's a question of personal preference really, but I tend to prefer nowadays spraying the snow foam on a dry surface. You're going to let it dwell for 1 to 5 minutes. Do not work in direct sunlight. Do not let this dry on the surface. That's also very important. And if you can tell on camera, it's pulling a lot of that dirt off and dripping it to the ground. It's not the foamiest type snow foam because that's not what they're going for. I know some people like really thick shaving cream like texture, but that's not what European snow foams typically go for. So this is a bit runnier, and it's the same thing with the previous version. Lots of bubbles. It's going to drag all of that dirt and foam down onto the floor ideally, and it's very, very easy to rinse off. So once you are done letting it dwell on the surface, well, it's time to rinse all of that off. And once again, it rinses freely, even with cold water, absolutely no problem. So do a good job, because this, your pre-wash stage, is where you're going to remove the majority of that muck, grime, that loose dirt and debris, and all of that abrasive particulate matter that's present in the dirt film, right? And so you're breaking kind of that grime, or softening that road film as well before the contact wash. So do a thorough job with your rinsing. And now what I wanted to do to see what kind of a job the snow foam did, we're going to thoroughly dry the vehicle. So at this point, only the pre-wash was done on the car, right? So I use a blower in this case. And again, you must always follow up with a full contact wash to get that 100% clean, because just the pre-wash alone isn't enough to fully remove that grime and the traffic or road film that's still present on the surface, and that can mask the properties of your coating. So you might think your coating is dead, but it's not. If it's still well within its lifespan, it just needs a good contact wash with either a pH neutral car shampoo, or every now and then you can use something like maybe CarPro D-Scale to wash the surface a bit acidic to remove a bit of that mineral buildup or water spots if you have any of those. And the restored hydrophobic properties will be there for you to enjoy. So let's have a look now at the difference. So have a look on screen. As you can tell, the snow foam, I'm happy to report that it did just as good of a job as the initial touchless version. So this new version this time is more than double in concentration. You're using a lot less in your foam cannon, but you're getting that same cleaning effect, or that pre-wash. And as you can tell, a lot of that film, especially that dirt, that muck, those loose dirt particles were all knocked off. There's barely just a thin film of dirt left, but none of those abrasive particles, none of that grit, right? I think it did a fantastic job. So again, we're like 80-90% clean on the surface. That's the sign of a very good pre-wash snow foam. So again, happy to report that the performance is definitely there. It's still my #1 favorite snow foam of the year to wash, to pre-wash your vehicle because of the cleaning capabilities. Now, this isn't necessarily something you'd be using every week. However, I did ask Pete over at Bilt Hamber's Laboratories, so he's the main chemist and owner. There's things that we often hear that you shouldn't use high pH snow foams on vehicles that have protection, like a wax, a paint sealant, or a ceramic coating, because it could strip those off. Well, as it turns out, and I have another video on that as well, the pH isn't everything. It's a lot to do with the chemistry inside it. So there are some higher pH snow foams out there that will not break down that protection, so that are still safe. And Bilt Hamber, well, Pete assured me that they did some testing with their own wax, and this does not degrade the wax that's on it. What this might remove is your LSP, or last step protectant, something like a quick detail spray. Those those just lighter protectants, this will eventually remove that over repeated use. But it's safe, according to Pete, on waxes and paint sealants as well, and definitely no problem on a ceramic coated car. So obviously my car is ceramic coated. My girlfriend's vehicle is ceramic coated. I mainly deal with coated vehicles, and I can report that I've been using even the previous version for years now at this point, and never once did I have an issue. What are the other specifications of this one, right? So they more than doubled the concentration. How did they do that? Basically, they have a new method of solubilizing the active materials more effectively. So they're more than doubling the concentration. And really this shows you're using way, way less than before. Where before in the foam cannon for a 5% PIR, that was the highest concentration, I'd probably use anywhere close to 500 mils of product. Now for the 2% PIR, I only use 160 mils, and 2% is at the higher end of the scale because you can start off at 0.5% now. And that's one way you can distinguish the new version from the old one. If you look here in the back, so you see, you can start with 0.5% PIR or panel impact ratio, and it goes all the way up to 2% PIR or panel impact ratio. That's the highest recommended concentration. So for your light duty kind of work, if the car isn't really super dirty, 0.5% or 1% PIR is more than enough. In this case, if I wanted a 1% PIR, I'd be using roughly 80 milliliters of product in the foam cannon, and how much? 620 roughly milliliters of water. Don't quote me on that. I'd have to look back on my calculations because I did it according to my foam cannon setup and my pressure washer for 700 total mils and 2% PIR in my case. As I said before, 160 mils of the product and 540 mils of water for a total solution of 700 milliliters in my foam cannon. And that's it. That's good to go. One cool thing I noticed about this, they give you all the instructions. That's cool in there, but it says here, alternatively, touchless can be applied using a pump, airless, or trigger spray equipment, and the generation of foam is not required. So this is one cool thing. They mentioned this directly on the label. It is not required to have this foam. So even if you don't have a pressure washer setup with a foam cannon, you can put this in a regular pump sprayer, even in a trigger sprayer, and then just cover the surface area with the proper dilution in your regular trigger sprayer. And that's it. You don't need to have it foamed. Case in point, if you want to see this in effect, you can go see my buddy's channel, John Delier from Forensic Detailing channel. He reviewed this at this point, I think a few weeks ago now. And of course, this is also his favorite snow foam because it's just that good. These guys are from the UK, by the way, Bilt Hamber. And he tested this on a panel with some dirt simulator, and you can see that in action. So I highly encourage you to go see that if you want to see the scientific kind of test that he did, which is pretty cool. And it shows just how effective this is at removing surface dirt, surface grime, traffic film, road film, all that kind of stuff. This really is meant for a good pre-cleaning of your vehicle. Another thing that they mentioned, some people say, if I have some left over in either my trigger sprayer, my pump sprayer, or my foam cannon, some of that solution, do I have to throw it away after use, or can I keep it in there? Well, they actually mentioned this. So it is not necessary to use all the diluted touchless in one wash. So 1 liter of diluted product can last 4 to 5 washes. I absolutely love that they're super detailed like that with their instructions, as you can see here. So you can leave it in your container for a few weeks, for a few washes, no problem. You can leave the dilution and it's still going to be very effective. So difference, by the way, this is the new version. Right here, I have a 1 liter bottle. They also are going to make the 5 liters later on. The prices really didn't change, but for the initial launch, they have the 1 liter bottles available. So this is how you distinguish the new one, 0.5 to 2% for the PIR. And I have here the older version, which is still good, by the way. It's just that you use more product because it's less concentrated. So this is the first version of Touchless. This is a 5 liter container. And here in the back, that's how you know that this is the older version. They have a 2% minimum PIR all the way to 5%. So 2 to 5%, that's the older version, and the new version, 0.5% up to 2% panel impact ratio, or PIR. This is a biodegradable product. There are not many products out there that are fully environmentally safe. Now, I know for some people it's not really important, but more and more people now want something that will not damage the environment. And why is that? So I asked Pete, you guys say here on the back that it is a sugar-based biodegradable snow foam. What do you mean by that? So what is in here that makes it biodegradable? And perhaps even more importantly, what is not in here that can be either bad to your health or for the environment? So this new version here, by the way, which is pH 10.5, the old version was pH 12, so still as effective, just with a bit lower pH in this one. Like the old version, this new version, it does not use any glycols or other solvents, so the goal is to have 0 VOCs in their formulations, so already that's a good thing. But the most important thing, the surfactants that they use in here, they meet biodegradable criteria to ensure that they break down into harmless substances in the environment after their use. So how is that possible? First of all, there's no NTA, chelating substance in there, and NTA is known to be a potential carcinogen. So for your own health, that's a good thing that it's not in there, because a lot of the snow foams or shampoos, if you look at the SDS sheets, I highly encourage you to do so. Sometimes they contain a bit of those chemicals that unknowingly to you can cause potential health issues when you use them year after year over decades, right? They accumulate. Also, there's no phosphates in the Touch-Less. So phosphates can cause eutrophication. What is that? Basically, it results in an increased growth in microorganisms in water, which may deplete the water from oxygen. So that's not a good thing for the environment. This does not happen with that. Fully environmentally safe. And also there's no EDTA, which is a component that's found in many soaps, and that's not readily biodegradable. So there's no EDTA in this. Again, it's safe on waxes, sealants, and coatings. Perhaps be careful with LSPs, because anyways, you'd reapply your quick detail spray at the end of your wash process, but this might remove the LSP, but it's safe on the waxes, safe on sealants, and also super safe on ceramic coatings, graphene coatings, whichever long form durability protection is on your paint, so that will not damage it. So yeah, I have nothing but good things to say. Happy to report that this new version is just as effective as the previous one. So same cleaning capability. However, we have more than double the increase in concentration. So you get a lot more for your money because you're using a lot less. So the prices didn't really change, but you're using way less product. So now all of a sudden, this is even more of a value proposition, and you're not going to be blowing through as much product as with the previous version. That's why with the previous version, it was really important to get the big 5-liter jug because you'd go through a lot. But now I suspect that with these, we'll be using a lot less, because 160 mils for 2% or roughly 80 mils for a 1% PIR is nothing. So yeah, start off with the small version maybe. See how you guys like it. By the way, if you've tested either the Auto Foam from Bilt Hamber or the Touch-Less from Bilt Hamber, drop a comment in the comment section under the video. They're absolutely fantastic. Between both, I have a slight preference for Touch-Less because in my conditions, it does a bit better job at pre-cleaning. Pete Hamber himself said it. It really depends on what type of environment you live in. So your climate in the region or the country where you live can have a big impact. Here in Montreal, Canada, we seem to be in winter months from the end of October all the way up to mid-April. So more than half the year, we're in this cold, snowy, disgusting environment with a lot of road solids, calcium, grime, and all that stuff. And Touch-Less usually in those more colder climates is more appropriate. If you're in a warmer environment, you can try the Auto Foam, a bit higher pH on that one, but both are some of the best pre-cleaning snow foams that you can use. Again, two types of snow foams, the more pH neutral ones for your regular washes. That's all you typically need. Those are more for lubrication, however, less for cleaning. And then when you want to do a deeper cleaning, soften up a bit of that traffic film road grime, remove more of that grit, lift that loose dirt and debris, then you're going to want to pull out some tougher stuff. Doesn't mean that it's bad for your protection though, because these are still safe, but these will do a much better job at pre-cleaning the surface. Again, I have videos on that. Go check them out. pH 7 versus pH 12 and 13 snow foams if you want to see how effective they are at actually doing the pre-cleaning. So it's not just for show. I know a lot of people think that, oh, foaming a vehicle is just for show. Well, maybe, yeah, if you're using pH neutral for the fun, but if you're actually using something like Touch-Less for pre-cleaning, the ones who know, you know. If you haven't tested this, I highly recommend that you do. I'll leave links, by the way, to all this stuff in the description under the video for you guys to check all of that out. I hope you enjoyed this. If that's the case, as usual, smash the thumbs up button. That really helps to support the channel and show me that you guys care about all the efforts that I put into making these videos for you. And in the meantime, don't forget, keep it tight, keep it clean, and I'll see you on the next one.